Who's ready to win the day in sports? I know you are. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com, Monday through Friday, noon to 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Justin Fensterman, and let's break everything down from a fantasy sports perspective. What is going on, everybody? Happy holidays, happy new year to all of you, because we get to flip the calendar to 2026 starting tomorrow, but we're going to end the year in style by crushing it in fantasy sports, fantasy football, and its final week of the regular season. Going to talk some DFS with Chris Rose of FantasyGuru.com, but for those that don't know me, now you do. My name is Justin Fensterman. You know me as Fensty, at Fensty Sports, on X and Instagram, FENSTY Sports, and at Fensty, FENSTY, in our FantasyGuru.com Discord channels, normally hanging around in the DFS, NBA, and NBA betting Discord channels, getting ready to kick off a big new year. But we've got an NBA slate to crush, and we've got some football to talk about here, because I know it's a very popular opinion, and I'm part of it. But at the same time, I view how you play fantasy football. I just want you playing. That's the big thing with me. As long as you're playing, however the hell you play, that's okay with me. Meaning if you go through week 18, that's why we're here for you at the good old FG. I have my league. I'm the commissioner of one league. I have it go through week 17. Why? Because week 18, it's not like it's some years it happens and some years it doesn't. We see starters getting rested. And that's why, for me, I'm part of the ended in week 17. At one point, I was even contemplating ending at week 16, because there were a few years in the mid-2010s where week 17, you saw teams resting a little bit. But I kept it through week 17, and I know that there are others out there that you play all the way through, and that's fine. But for me, week 17 is when I end things. And also, by the way, when it comes to the leagues I commission, if you don't have a third place prize or a consolation prize, I'm also in the belief, and I do this, that as teams get eliminated, you turn off their access to the waiver wire. They can still set their lineup if they want and have some fun doing that, but why take waivers out of the teams that are fighting for the title? It's one thing if you have like a third place prize. If you have a third place prize, you have to leave waivers open for those two teams that lose in the semifinals that are fighting for a prize, payout, whatever you give. But for those teams that are eliminated, and when there's no third place prize, no consolation prize, eliminate waivers. Just do it, because it should give the teams that are actually in it a better chance to be able to make sure they have access to the remaining player pool. And that is what I think about that. Here's what we've got going on today. And I know, by the way, it's a little bit of a confusing NBA day. There are a few day games that are going on throughout the day. And that's why I wanted to make sure, and I huddled up with the NBA team to make sure that today's slate universally was the night action, and it is on both slates. All of a sudden, with FanDuel and DraftKings, they're starting to get in line with a lot of their slates. I know it's been a weird few weeks, and the NBA Cup makes scheduling a very weird time. Lack of consistency. Some days there's one game, and then the next day there's 10 games. And now that the Cup is over, we will start getting more succinct scheduling throughout the week. And when you have fewer games, and this isn't me making an excuse or anything like that, because last night the Elite Mafia and NBA went 2-0 on bets. The night before we went 0-4. I have no problem admitting when I lose. I really don't. Plenty of people in this industry do, and that's fake. That's being fake. No, real deal with me. I'll always admit where I went wrong, because I learn, and we all learn together, and that's how we grow, and that's how we become better, through that trial and error. And there's a lot of error, let me tell you, especially with NBA prop player betting. It's the end of the year, getting ready here. But let me just say this, when it comes to NBA betting and everything like that, that is why we're here for you. That is why I always explain how I come to the determination of the normally over that I'm betting. And that is also why we are here for you, NFL, NBA. Let's talk about how you can get involved. As you know, this is a free stream here, and you can see right there in that gold orangey color how to get involved with our MVP plan. Basketball, hockey, racing, MMA. You also get college sports. You get everything we have to offer at fantasyguru.com, except for baseball and football. Try it out for the month for $60. And then if you like it, sign up for the year for around $200. And with me, I'm always doing content for the NBA side through the playoffs. For the NFL side, I take care of the injury report. I also host our Elite Sports Game Time show Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern on Fantasy Sports Radio, the little sister show of Jeff Manz's Elite Sports Show, which is on Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can also, by the way, catch Jeff Sundays with Bob Harris on the Fantasy Football Pregame Show on SiriusXM Channel 87. I come on later on after that with Russell Clay, 6 p.m. Eastern. We have a great time. We talk about where we went right, where we went wrong. Then we dive right into Sunday Night Football as we attack that late afternoon window of games. So when looking at some basketball first for the night, 5 games all around, we're good. I'll have a write-up a little bit later on. Because of the schedule, and the reason why I was talking about the NBA scheduling is because Watch Along Wednesday has been greatly impacted by it, because the day before Christmas last week, there was no NBA. And then the previous few Wednesdays, we had like 1 or 2 games, and that's it. Tonight, we've got 5, obviously, with it being New Year's Eve and all. Next week, Watch Along Wednesday returns to fantasyguru.com. I'll be in the Discord Wednesdays for about an hour and a half or so, 2 hours, just reacting to the teams that we're watching, what we're learning, what's changed with the rosters. The NBA trade deadline is a little over a month away. That's going to change things right there. And then how we're going to attack these teams down the stretch, because the prop market's going to be generous to us down the stretch, and I want to get us ready for that. Right now for the season, record-wise, hanging around 500 from the unit standpoint. I'd say overall, probably at this point, doing the math that I was doing this morning, about 5 down. But we've hit some good parlays. I'll put a lot of alt-line parlays and single bets for all of you, because I know that you play on various different websites depending on the legalities of the situation of where you're living. So with the 5 games going, we've got a monster one here in the NBA, and then I'm going to get to NFL in a little bit with Chris Rose talks of Week 18. But for NBA betting, let's start here, because this is an area that I've struggled with at times, and normally I hang in the rebound and assist prop betting area, but scoring, I also look for low point props. And when I say low point props, that's pretty much under, depending on the player, but I generally look under 16.5 points. So I look for those players that maybe come off the bench, like the Keldon Johnsons of the world, that while Victor Wembanyama was out, Keldon Johnson would come in. Yeah, he'd play like 25 minutes, but he'd take about 8 to 11 shots. So when he was in, you knew. It's kind of like in the NFL, just as a comparison, a Dalton Kincaid, who maybe won't be on the field every single snap, but when Dalton Kincaid is on the field, you know he's going to be involved and probably getting thrown to majority of the time. That's how he's still able to pick up a few targets. Here it's just like that with bench players. And the Spurs are a good team to talk about, because the Spurs have very solid bench depth. And Dylan Harper and Keldon Johnson are 2 of the guys that are very good scorers. They're very efficient. They take a decent amount of shots. We bet on Keldon a couple of times here, but now as Victor Wembanyama gets healthy, I kind of have them on ice just so I can find a little bit more of a pattern as he continues to get healthy and pick up some more playing time. But what I look for is, I look for a few things. I look at defensive rating a lot when it comes to scoring, because that's where it all comes from. And I don't look just for the season. I now at the point where I'm looking in the last 10 to 15 games. Maybe I'll look just to get a perspective of how much has changed when you put the microscopic lens on it. But when I'm looking at defensive rating, like I'm looking at a lot of these advanced stats, because there's so many games, I'm looking in the last 10. I'm looking for a little bit of a smaller sample size to try to find a hidden trend somewhere. So over the last 10 games, here's what's interesting. Utah, not surprised that they've been the lowest defensive rated team, a team that we've constantly attacked. But the Lakers, and when JJ Redick is making comments about lack of effort and about issues, and the team just hasn't been the same since LeBron James, has returned to the court, the Lakers have actually been a very poor defensive team. And that's a team doing well early on that I was very scared to attack. DeAndre Ayton, who, by the way, hilarious with reporters. He just doesn't give a crap. He's going to say whatever he wants and try to throw off every reporter possible. But DeAndre Ayton has played very good defense. Oh, my God, he's been good. He has been good for the most part. And they don't need him. They told him, dude, forget your offense. We can use it if we've got one of our big three out, Doncic, LeBron, Reeves. Reeves has been banged up. But really, for him, he's more of a defense guy. And that's why I haven't been attacking the Lakers. They don't play at a fast pace. But now I see this, and I'm like, okay, we might be able to get away with something here. Other teams that have been very poor defensive teams, and you can see it right here. This is why I go over, and this is why, by the way, I know a lot of you really want to look at this piece right here, really want to look at this eye candy. But at the same time, I don't know when you're tuning in. Maybe you have just 5 minutes. Maybe you're on your lunch break and you have to get back. Maybe you're doing work and you're really not supposed to be on YouTube and your boss is on the other side of the room and you've got 5 minutes. That's why I always leave until I bring the guests up, the doc up. So you can see some of the things that I'm covering here and get a little bit of information along the way. Sacramento, they've got so many I players, and they don't play defense, a lot of them. They need somehow, some way, we got to get Domantas Sabonis back on this team. This is a team that I, for the most part, don't trust, except for a few bench options. I know that last night in DFS, I suggested Nick Clifford. Worked out well from the scoring standpoint. We'll take it. But the Bulls, another team, they play zero interior defense. We've attacked them all year, and I'm shocked. I'm shocked that this Bulls team isn't better. Oh, Fensty, they had you know what? I don't care that, okay, Kobe White's been out a little bit. Dosunmu's been out a little bit. Now, Kobe White, Josh Giddey, or Giddey's going to miss maybe up to a month. That's not the reason. They're just not playing good interior defense. That's the big problem. Nikola Vucevic is the problem. I hate to say this, but Matas Buzelis, who I thought was going to show some growth, not as much as I thought. I'm very let down. I was so excited about Matas Buzelis. The problem is, I told my old buddy Adam Ronas, who I'm in a fantasy basketball league with, that I love Matas Buzelis, and then he took him from me a few rounds earlier in the draft. That's why when it comes to talking about the excitement of your fantasy leagues and teams, for me, it's different because we always go back and forth on stuff, Adam and I. We love Ronas. But in general, when you're dealing with your friends and league mates, just make sure you're not talking about some of your favorite players. I try to ask some of my friends in my leagues who they like. A lot of them know right now not to play into the games, but that's what it's all about, the psychology of fantasy sports and sports wagering too. Let's continue talking about it. The Denver Nuggets. Now, again, this is over the last 10 games, so this is not life without Jokic. This is with Jokic. They've been one of the weakest defensive teams. Oh, boy. And let me tell you something. We're attacking this team. We are going to attack the Denver Nuggets. No Jokic. Opens things up. No disrespect to Jonas Valanciunas, but he's got a lot of work when he faces those teams like the Cavs, like the Knicks that have multiple big men that can move a little bit. Oh, he's so screwed. So screwed. This team operates at a slow pace. So I feel that the prop markets will be slow when it comes to lifting the lines on some of these guys. Yes, lines will be lifted. When you take a Jokic out of the lineup, you think Jamal, all of a sudden it's going to be Jamal Murray, 6.5 assists? Hell no. Hell no, it's not. That's going to move up right there. Move up. Remember, though, Denver does have a lot of players that are out right now. So this can benefit us from a DFS standpoint, a lot of value. We've bet a few Bruce Brown props, and Bruce Brown's going to be taking shots. That's a player that I'll look at a little bit because that's a player that wasn't taking a lot of shots. So the algorithms are going to be slow to adjust. Now, if all of a sudden he starts scoring 20 points and he's got 3 straight games of 20 points, 4 straight games of 20 points, the numbers are going to start to move up quickly. They can't get killed every single night. They can't get killed. They're already getting killed with Derek White rebound props that we discovered at fantasyguru.com. Derek White has become this big-time force on the boards, 5+ in a bunch of games in a row now, 7-8 in a row. Now we're going to probably see the line move up a little bit, but let's just say it doesn't, and we're at 4.5. We hit the bet last night on his rebounds and assists. You put me in a fast-paced game with Derek White, oh boy, we're going to have some fun with that. If you're going to give me a 9.5 rebounds plus assists, fast pace, higher assist ceiling. And if the team isn't a good shooting team, because that's something we've talked about with rebounding props, if the team isn't a good shooting team, then more rebounds are going to occur and take place. And that lifts rebounding ceilings too. This is why you become an MVP and sign up for our plan, because you're going to learn this stuff. This isn't about me. I'm not on a pedestal. We're all the same here. We're all battling the books. We're all battling FanDuel. We're battling DraftKings every single night together. I'm not up here or anything as I knock my hat off my head. Kind of hurt a little bit. Might have a slight concussion. Hang on a second. I'm going to the medical tent. Okay, I'm back. I'm good. I've been cleared. But we're all in this together. And in 2026, that continues. That doesn't stop. It never stops. And when the season is over, that's not it for me. I don't go into hibernation. We're going to rock the playoffs. Prop lines become tougher. But with everything that we learned about the teams, by the time we're halfway through those playoff series, that's when we're going to start to benefit big time again. So going back to scoring strategies here, beyond the worst defensive rated teams over the last 10 games, I mean, the Wizards are down there. The Magic just don't have it together. I'm seeing a lot of data regarding Orlando, and they're not like they're going to do anything about it. He's a tremendous talent. And once again, like last year, Orlando just continues to have players out. At one point, it's Paolo, then it's Franz Wagner, then it's Jalen Suggs. It's the same thing as last year, but their defense has stunk. And I'm starting to look at some data and seeing that they're better with Banchero off the floor, which makes absolutely no sense to me. So that's something that I'm going to start watching for when it comes to the future of the organization. But high opponent field goal percentage when it comes to scoring. I want to attack teams that let up a lot of points, but also let up when it comes to the field goal percentage, a high field goal percentage. The Pelicans are one of those teams. And here's the thing with the Pelicans. The Pelicans, while a lot of teams are going to be heavily favored against them, and I'm wondering, by the way, if that starts to change once DeJounte Murray comes back. But the Pelicans play fast. They started the year playing slowly, but this is why we look in the last 10 games. And this is why, by the way, I'm looking at a 247.5 total between New Orleans and Chicago. It's going to move at Roadrunner speed. It's going to move at lightning speed. I want that for DFS. And it's not always the big name players. It's the value guys too. Like, for instance, I can tell you right now, and I thought about this last night when I was checking out the slate, Trey Jones. I mean, you got to look at Trey Jones and think, wow, this is a guy, while he's cheap, no Josh Giddey, no Kobe White, in a very fast matchup, I'm going to go after that. Derek Queen, Nikola Vucevic, pretty cheap. Zion Williamson, pretty cheap. And he should be able to rebound. That's why we've been attacking the Bulls. This game is good for props. This game is good for DFS, especially in a 5-game slate. I want a piece of this action. I damn well do. And we're going to get there, and I'll have the article a little bit later on. I mean, some of the teams that I haven't been looking at Trey Murphy a lot, but he's playing better now. I can't go with a guy and pay $7K plus if you're just going to give me points. I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'd almost rather place a bet on a low rebound prop, Norman Powell style. But if I'm going to pay for that, I need a little bit more than just the scoring, and that's it. So this matchup, I think he gets there too. Trey Jones, I mentioned, also very solid in that matchup, those two. Definitely. But that's for DFS tonight. Then I look at pace, because pace produces possessions, and we want those slower moving teams having more possessions. So that's where Memphis, now the Thunder, prop lines are going to be a little bit lower because everybody is scared of the big bad Thunder, right? Except for the Spurs. The Spurs seem like they have their number for some reason. But everybody else scared of the big bad Thunder. Thunder, by the way, haven't been the healthiest team throughout the year. Hartenstein is hurt again, but they play fast. And we weren't seeing that at the beginning of the year. Now they've sped it up a little bit more. So for those bench players for props, that's where I look at attacking OKC. Dallas has kind of been up and down when it's come to the pace. And lately they've been up. And I don't really love their defense outside of, to be honest, PJ Washington. So I'll attack just about this entire team. Miami, they've been operating at a lightning speed pace all year. And yes, they do have their full size. And they're starting to play better. That's something else I'm noticing too. I mean, Ware has been good. Bam Adebayo has been pretty good, being more on the high side of things than the low block. And that's the way it should be with those two. But then you're starting to see Nikola Jovic. You're starting to see him catch up a little bit. And I've been wondering where the hell his head has been for most of the year. But he's starting to get into it a little bit. So I'm wondering if it's going to be harder attacking them on the glass soon enough. So I'm on watch there. Cleveland, they've been playing quickly. And despite having their size, and I know that Mobley's been a little bit banged up, but centers are still able to get to them. So that's defensive issues right there. So again, to catch everybody up, worst defensive rated teams over the last 10 games: Jazz, Hawks, Lakers, Kings, Bulls, Rockets, by the way, in there. That's something to think about because the Rockets, they play at a slow pace. They're a good defensive team. But lately, if they've been sloppy, then that's something. And I know that they've had Şengün in and out of the lineup lately. That probably contributes to it. But if that's what we're seeing, that with some of those guys out, all of a sudden they don't play as good a defense at all, some of the bottom of the barrel defense, we can attack them a bit, and the prop lines will be a little bit on the lower side for scoring. A couple of times I've used Reed Shepherd, but he's very hit or miss there. And a lot of guys are. That's the problem. People love betting point props, and the lines are going to be very, very close. And we're going to be in a sweat. Someone who I've bet comfortably from Minnesota has been Naz Reid. Why Naz Reid? Take a guess. I feel like I'm like Steve from Blue's Clues. I'm like asking, then going through the fourth wall and asking question and then pausing. So why do you think that is? Because at the end of the day, when it comes to those teams, those are the teams that we want to attack. And that's why when it comes to the Naz Reid point prop, he comes off the bench. He takes a lot of shots. In a fast-paced environment, he's gonna thrive. Against the Bulls, he thrived. Bulls don't have anyone coming off the bench. No disrespect to Jalen Smith, who, by the way, we're cheap, and we're starting to see him produce a bit more. So that's a nice value play that you'll probably see in the write-up tonight especially. But Naz Reid, very comfortable. If he's at 13.5, this guy takes double-digit shots regularly. And I'll say this, which is great for us. Despite taking double-digit shots, he doesn't score a lot. He misses a decent amount of shots, but he takes those shots. That's what it's about right there. Finding those bench players, especially, that take a lot of shots that will still play at around 30 minutes a game. Finally, I look at three-pointers. And this is something for DFS too, because the Knicks are a team that no one wants to attack. Play good defense. They play slow. They've got some of the best perimeter and wing defenders in the league on this team alone. You could get to them through Jalen Brunson, so point guards or whoever Jalen Brunson's going to be matched up with, you could get the advantage there. But when Mitchell Robinson's in, he's a great defender. And that's hard to get by in the post. But the Knicks have been notorious this season for giving up threes. And that's something that we can take advantage of too at times. Because, again, the algorithms are going to see that the Knicks are a good defensive team. They don't give up a lot of points. They're slow, and we can end up getting a little bit of an edge on them. So that's what I look for when it comes to point props. Tougher for me than the rebounding props. I've been saying lately I'm like the Dennis Rodman of NBA player prop betting because I get rebounding. I do. And I watch a lot. I watch to see who's truly in position beyond looking at the advanced data that I point out when I explain the various bets and everything like that. I'll go over some of the other plays that I like here. But yeah, just making sure, by the way, you can let me know you're hanging out in the chat. Happy New Year to all of you. Let's see some resolutions. All right, let's have a little bit of fun. I'll continue talking the sports and giving you the plays of the day. But what are your New Year's resolutions? I'll give mine. It's been like the same thing for the last few years, attacking the way to get it, except I did it a little bit differently. I started my New Year's resolution towards the end of November. And I used to be a gym rat back in the day. It's weird for me to think about that right now. I just loved going. I love just being in my own zone and everything, and I still love that. And then life gets in the way. You also work a lot of hours. You work a lot of nights. I mean, look, but at the end of the day, if you want something, you go after it full force. And so for me, I've always set my goals way too high. That's why I've always set expectations way too high, Mount Everest high. So now what I did was I started early. I started to understand what I could do, what I can't do when it comes to eating, when it comes to when I eat, when it comes to when I work out. How do I feel after that? Am I exhausted? Am I too tired? Do I need the caffeine? I've spent the last month and a half, like Eric Spoelstra, like Pat Riley, like Phil Jackson, coming up with the triangle offense for myself of being able to really drop a significant amount of weight without taking any kind of or any form of medication to do so. Your decision if you do it, no judging, just not my jam. Or just starving myself where I'm eating like one meal a day, because the problem with that is and I've done that before. I did it a long time ago as a radio bit where I was in a who can lose the most weight bet in 2 months. And I really wanted to beat this guy. He talked a lot of trash. I was talking trash on the radio show that he was producing about this bet. And I really just wanted to win. And I don't want to say but I barely ate any food. And that's, it worked out and I was fine. I was drinking a lot of water, and which you should do. But I wasn't eating a lot of sustenance or anything like that. I wasn't going to the gym a lot then, but I wasn't. And you know what happens? Yeah, you may lose the weight short term, but within an instant, you gain it all back. It's like within a month, I had gained most of it back. So that's why, for me, with my resolution, I'm doing it the right way. I figured out what I have to limit and what my biggest nemesis is for me, which is eating right before bed. And that's the biggest thing for me. And that's what I've been figuring out. And I've had moments of failure. I've had moments of triumph. I had been developing that willpower and getting back into the gym a little bit, and not just lifting heavy weights or anything like that, but really trying not to hurt myself at 38. So for those out there that have resolutions like that, aim small. That's the big thing. New Year's resolutions can be done in the form of months too, not just for the full year, because you set your expectation too high, and then you know what happens? You feel like a loser when you don't hit that resolution. And you know what? Smaller goals, and then you'll get that oomph, you'll get that happiness factor, those endorphins, especially for those that want to lose the weight and you're going to the gym. That's why aim smaller goals, and that will help you get to that ultimate big goal. I've spent the last month and a half figuring that out. I haven't hurt myself, a little bit of a bum shoulder, but okay, nothing too crazy. But at the end of the day, it's about game planning. It's about keeping organization. And just like on the field or on the court, it's about working together and making sure everything goes well and that you're focusing on your mentals and your physical health at all times. Okay, sermon over right there. A couple more plays I'll give you. Interested to see Jonas Valanciunas now life without Nikola Jokic. He's the guy. If you think he's walking into 30 minutes, I'm not, but I'm still going to be playing him tonight. He is going to be heavily owned. The Jokic story, when the best player in the league, arguably, goes out, it becomes a monster story, and it becomes, well, who's going to take over? So that's why just know there's certain chalk that you're going to eat. Yeah, on a 5-game slate, I'll eat that chalk right there for cheaper value, and especially get that center spot there on DraftKings. You might be able to go double center there. A couple of others I like. Value guy who I know plays good defense, and not a lot of players. In fact, he might be the only player that actually plays good defense. Alex Sarr, okay. And no, Alex Sarr plays bad defense on the ball. Bilal Coulibaly, he's starting to produce a little bit more. And he's on Washington, and they run up tempo a bit too. So that's going to be big. And like I was saying, when it comes to looking at poor defense, they've played some of the worst defense in the NBA. Don't even need to look at the last sample size for that. Teams always score on them. So with the other way, Bilal Coulibaly is someone that can help prevent a little bit on the defensive end. We should see him play meaningful minutes, and he's starting to produce a little bit more. The big question is, though, now Milwaukee's been watching Giannis. Will Giannis be playing enough to be able to volume produce? That's the big question of the night. That's what I'm thinking about, because when you think about a building block and you see someone going up against the Washington Wizards, yeah, I'm thinking in my head, well, they want to keep him healthy, so why overextend him if the Bucks are killing the Wizards? But will the Bucks be killing the Wizards? That's something that I'm going to be figuring it out right there. Let's flip it back to football, though, and welcome in guest of the day here, who's joined me a few times here this season. Now back again, Skull. It's Chris Rose. What's going on, Chris? How you doing?
What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Dude, I was just talking about New Year's resolutions and stuff. Do you make New Year's resolutions? Because I just, from just, talking with you and just seeing what you've done, obviously following you on Instagram, you seem like just a very disciplined person at all times.
Looks may be deceiving. My wife does a good job of keeping me in check. So, I did make a New Year's resolution to get. I was listening to you talk about working out and whatnot, and you're a young pup at only 38. I'm 40. So, I'm making a New Year's resolution to get back in really good shape. Back, 10 years ago, I was in fantastic shape, and it's difficult, especially when I have 5 total kids in my house. So, but it's the New Year's thing.
Yeah, and I know, like, you're down south. I'm in the mid-Atlantic, and it's like cold, and you can go outside.
Seasonal depression.
Yeah, it's just like we walk the dog and stuff, but now there's snow and ice on the road and everything like that. So you can't exactly go outside and run around all the time where I am. And it's just like, how it is. You mentioned it with the kids. It's very tiring. There's a lot to do when you're an active parent. There's a lot to do. And especially with you have 5 kids running around who I know are in sports and everything. Oh, yeah. Mine are all over the place too. That's tiring, man. But it's hard to now create the time. But for me, and I know this sounds crazy, I've always been a morning workout guy. And we have in our little complex, we have a small gym and stuff. No one's there at 5:15 in the morning. That's when I go, man.
That's time to go. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know I'm having that crazy, I'm watching late NBA and then I'm getting a few hours of sleep. But dude, I have to do it, man. Otherwise I'm never going to freaking do it because I love to eat.
Definitely agree. I'm Italian, so it's tough, man, with all these pasta Sundays and whatnot.
Yes, absolutely. I'm with you. Man, it's funny. It's almost like you live with me because I had noodles and company the other night. Yeah. And let's just say I didn't order one thing. I'm just letting you know that right now.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, man. When it comes to the Vikings, you're a huge Vikings fan. What do you think of the future of the organization? And I'm not talking just from the up and down Justin Jefferson fantasy season. I know McCarthy was in and out, but do you believe in JJ McCarthy and where this organization is going?
So I think we saw in 5 out of his 9 games that he can play well. He can be I'll even say, unbiased, he could be a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. In those games that he played, we saw before he hurt his hand, how good he can play a full game. So I think for the Vikings to be successful, they got to retain Brian Flores, number one. They have to pay him a lot of money. They cannot let him walk out of Minnesota because the defense has kept them in games. But I think you let guys like Javon Hargrave leave, guys like C.J. Ham, Harrison Smith, let them retire, let Jonathan Allen go. And, they don't have a ton of cap space they did last year. But I think, there's some pieces that you could put around JJ. I think the run game, if you upgrade the run game with someone like a Jeremiah Love at a Notre Dame in the draft, or sign someone like a Travis Etienne to give him that running back help, I think that kind of will take a little bit, alleviate off the pressure off him. But as far as JJ, man, I do believe that if they can get his mechanics right, because if you watch the way he throws like a pitcher. He is not a well-developed quarterback, and that's something that Kevin O'Connell could probably change in the offseason. But I think that he does have the natural ability to, play the game. He can be a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. In those games that he played, we saw before he hurt his hand, Javon Hargrave leave, guys like C.J. Ham, Harrison Smith, let them retire, let Jonathan Allen go. And, they don't have a ton of cap space they did last year. But I think, there's some pieces that you could put around JJ. I think the run game, if you upgrade the run game with someone like a Jeremiah Love at a Notre Dame in the draft, or sign someone like a Travis Etienne to give him that running back help, I think that kind of will take a little bit, alleviate off the pressure off him. But as far as JJ, man, I do believe that if they can get his mechanics right, because if you watch the way he throws like a pitcher. He is not a well-developed quarterback, and that's something that Kevin O'Connell could probably change in the offseason. But I think that win in the NFL. He wasn't a guy that was injured a lot. If you go back to like his high school days, I think he only like broke a thumb and he played through it from what I was reading. So I think these injuries the last 2 years have been kind of fluky. And if he could stay healthy, I think this Vikings team can be, a contender for the NFC North every single year.
You can give Chris Rose, by the way, a follow on X at Chris_R1212. Writer at fantasyguru.com, covers multiple sports. And Chris also wrote up our QB coach for the week for week 18. And Chris, this is always an interesting week, man, with week 18. Yeah. Are you a season-long fantasy football going through week 18 guy? Or, I was talking about this before, like a lot of other people, I stop after week 17.
Yeah, I handle probably 3 of our home leagues as a commissioner. I never let these go into week 18. It makes it so much harder when 90% of the teams have these locked up and nothing to play for. So I rarely let it go into week 18. I absolutely hate when anybody handles it like that.
Yeah, and people say, well, it's not like it is like that every year. You have multiple teams and they're good teams. That's the thing, because they're playoff teams. They're resting their starters, and that changes the entire game. And I felt like at one point it was happening a decent amount in week 17 too. You had a couple of teams that were boat racing the entire league, and week 17 they want to rest. And it had me contemplating ending even earlier in week 16, but then I thought that was extreme, man. And I know that there are traditionalists out there. You play till the end. But Chris, you and I are around the same age. Even thinking back to the 1990s, maybe there was one player. I didn't feel like a lot of players used to be universally rested the final week of the season.
No, they played all the way through. It was never like this. And you got teams like the Raiders who kind of shut it down after the first quarter in week 17 as well. So even these teams that suck that are going into the offseason, they're ready to pack it in. So there's quite a few teams this week that are going to limit their starters.
So who are some of those teams that we're going to have to be wary of?
So I have 5 games that I'm probably not going to be invested in. If I am, it's going to be really minimal. One of them is being Philadelphia and Washington. Eagles need to win and hope for a Bears loss. So I can see Philly kind of playing a little bit here, but kind of off that game. Buffalo, the Jets. Jets have nothing to play for. The Bills are in for the number 7 seed, but they can move up to 5 or 6 with a win. They move up to 5 if they win, and the Texans, the Chargers lose. Rams, Cardinals. McVay said the starters are going to play. I don't think they're going to play all that much. They can't afford anyone getting hurt.
Right.
Chargers, Broncos. We saw that Trey Lance is starting, and the Chargers are resting guys. Broncos need to win. That's really the only team out of these 5 games that I would say are going to play everybody. Broncos need to win, hold on to that number 1 overall seed. And then Green Bay, Minnesota. We saw Malik is starting for Green Bay. I think Minnesota is going to play their guys, but there's not much I really want to be invested in this game either.
Yeah, LaFleur, I'm seeing some comments. LaFleur about 25 minutes ago made some comments that like a few of the starters will be rested. This is why we can't be playing in week 18.
I need Minnesota to lose, though. Minnesota needs to lose, because if we go in, we have such an easier schedule if we're the number 4 seed, number 4 place in the NFC North. They got to lose this game.
And look, Chris, I'm a Jets fan, man. So there's a lot of losing. There's pretty much only losing. I have such a tough time every year rooting for them to just lose out and everything, man. And I know it's better for the franchise and everything like that. And that's why I'm someone that thinks that every sport needs a lottery system. So it's not like that. Yes, they'll still be trying to get in better position with the percentages being higher, but at the same time, it's not a lock or guaranteed that they're going to get the top pick. But man, it's just demoralizing because, again, as a Jets fan, hasn't seen the light of day for the playoffs in 15 years. It's hard for me even, and the Jets will screw up the pick, so I know that's a lock, but it's hard for me to root against them like this, like every game.
Same for Minnesota. Kwesi has been an awful drafter since he's took over as GM. He has been, I think he's only hit on 2 players over the last 5 drafts. He's been awful. So misery loves company. So I completely get it as a Vikings and Jets fan.
Yes. See, that's why at least you think, okay, they've got a couple of pieces there. The Jets really don't have any pieces. That's the thing. There's really no direction. It's like, okay, They have Garrett Wilson, and that's about it. Breece Hall probably going to be off the team after this year. Yeah. So there's no, at least you guys have something that you're building towards and stuff. But going back to talking about week 18 and everything like that, let's talk about the Giants here, because I'm looking at a few of their options. They're facing Dallas, who you could produce against Dallas. How do you feel about stacking the Giants, like guys like Jaxson, Dart, Tracy, maybe even a Wan'Dale Robinson?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it around the head. I think Dart and Robinson are in a great spot here against Dallas. 14 targets for Robinson last week. He's always been a guy that I really haven't played all that much because I don't think he has like that stretch the field ability. He's always been like the Edelman type, the short yardage, short to intermediate passing. But 14 targets, we love Dart. We've played him a lot this year. I think against a Dallas defense I think they ranked 32nd in the league over the last 4 weeks. Yeah, I like that combination between the two.
I was looking at some of the cheaper tight end options and trying to figure out which direction to go here. And obviously you look at Michael Mayer getting targeted in double-digit times last week here. He's at 3,500. Is that another area to attack, maybe a sub 4K guy who can maybe get 6 to 10 targets?
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to the live stream last week before the slate started with Armando, he was my number one value tight end, probably my number one value play on the slate at 2,500 last week, just filling in for Brock Bowers, who was put on IR earlier in the week. At 3,500, I haven't played one tight end over 4K this year. So he falls into that under 4K that has a lot of upside. I mean, you're telling me you're going to give me a low price tight end with 8 to 10 targets. I'm going to be all in on it.
Yeah. I mean, and again, and I was talking about this with some of the basketball plays earlier, even if it draws a lot of ownership, if you're seeing projected ownership, because you got to think 10 targets, he's going to have a lot of ownership. That's not going to turn you off at all to him, right?
No, not at that price tag.
What about some of the other cheap options that are sub 4K, essentially on DK, that you're looking at for week 18 DFS?
Honestly, right now, I don't have a ton of value guys outside of Mayer. That typically will open up once I see the injury reports on Friday night, Saturday mornings. But right now, there's not a lot of value. And well, there's really the slate really isn't all that expensive either. So I'm sure there will be a under 4K guy. I think last week for me was like Kyle Williams from New England. I think he could be in play again if something happens with Diggs, with that whole whatever happened yesterday with him being charged with whatever it was.
Right.
So if Diggs doesn't play, I think Kyle Williams ends up being a pretty good value play for the Patriots.
What about someone like Parker Washington?
Yeah, I mean, he's been good. I mean, Jaguars have to win. They have an outside chance of being the number one overall seed as well. So I think Washington's rapport with Trevor Lawrence has been great over the last couple of weeks. So he's definitely in play.
Yeah, as Chris mentioned, by the way, the injury report, shameless plug right here. I will have the injury report up on Friday. What I do for everyone that knows is Friday night, I do a little bit of a pass through. If there's a last minute change and everything like that, I want to make sure it gets up. And some of these teams will go at a snail's pace, AKA some of these West Coast teams, AKA the 49ers every single week. Then Saturday, I've updated a little bit more. But Sunday morning, I do one final update so everybody can be directed and ready to go for those playing either season long or DFS. I have the injury report. It will be up Friday evening. So let's talk about your article a little bit at fantasyguru.com, the QB coach. Who are a few quarterbacks that you're interested for the main slate?
So I'll give you my top 3 ranked guys that I like. Number 1, Drake May. Patriots have something to play for, trying to get the number 1 overall seed. The game is played at the same time as Denver, so they'll have to play out this game. Drake May coming off a 5-touchdown game. Love the spot for him, even if Diggs doesn't play. Trevor Lawrence, I think this is another game where the Jaguars have a lot at stake against the Titans. They can clinch the AFC South with a win. They have a path to the number 1 overall seed, as I mentioned, if Denver and New England happen to lose. Great matchup. Tennessee gives up over 280 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. They've been atrocious over the last 4. And then the last guy is just a rookie that's really, it's what New Orleans has drafted and what they have needed in a passer, and that's Tyler Shough. Back-to-back games with 300 passing yards. You can tell the connection between him and Chris Olave is just getting better. Atlanta ranks 31st in the league, giving up over 265 passing yards. So I like Shough and Olave as well.
Shough has been, you talk about some of the up and down quarterbacks when it comes to production. He's been kind of steady. It's weird to see guys like him and Jacoby Brissett, well, maybe they're not having the 35-point games. at the end of the day, when I'm someone that's now scarred from the Lamar Jackson experience this year, where it was like up, 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 down, 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 and then it kind of remained down. I mean, I'll take a guy at that point that's producing 20 to 22 points a week, like a Shough or a Brissett.
Yeah, and I mean, imagine if he played the whole season as the starting quarterback, he would probably be in line for Rookie of the Year.
Wow, no, that's a good point right there. New Orleans had no idea where they were going. They didn't guarantee that whoever was starting at the beginning of the year was going to end up being the starter. That's one of the things that we were all watching for here. When it comes to, you mentioned some of the quarterbacks here that you're into. What about some of the other maybe running backs or wide receivers, a couple that you'd be okay paying up for cornerstone plays?
So I'll give you 4 running backs and 4 wide receivers. One being Bijan Robinson. Again, I think there's nothing really to Atlanta to play for. I just think it's more so for him to hit that 1,500-yard mark. Chase Brown, we saw what he's done over the last couple of weeks. I think they continue that just to kind of end the season on a high note. James Cook, Buffalo has something to play for, as I mentioned. And then Travis Etienne for the Jaguars. Again, Jaguars trying to play for the AFC South. At wide receiver, Chris Olave, I mentioned his connection with Shough. Wan'Dale Robinson with Jaxson Dart, Jamar Chase, another guy they're probably going to end up playing through the end of the just to kind of end on a high note. Stephon Diggs, if he plays, I think he's a great spot. And the last one, Nico Collins, I think Houston still has a ton to play for as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at Stroud a little bit too. If you're kind of looking to be different, Chris, I mean, probably Stroud is that guy to be different that probably won't draw. I wouldn't say I don't like hardly any ownership probably.
No, he'll be sub 4%, 3%.
Yeah, that's what I figured too. Talking with Chris Rose again from fantasyguru.com, one of our writers, also on the stream every single Sunday with Armando Marsal throughout the season too, leading right up to kickoff. They cover the DFS slate and also during the college football season, the triple option stream too. I love the triple op on a Friday night. You and Scott Bonder and the beer.
I miss it, man. I miss the college football stuff.
Yeah, it's fun, man. I mean, it just goes so quickly. It's weird in a blink of an eye, probably because I'm just so engulfed into the NBA at this point. I'm like, whoa, it's bowl season already? It's crazy how quick it goes, man.
Yep, I agree. It sucks.
Yeah, it really does. What about team defenses? What defenses would you – I know that you always go cheap. Who are some that you're going to be rostering?
Yeah, a couple teams, Raiders, Minnesota are probably the 2. Malik Willis starting. I know Malik has been good over the last, 11 games he's played with the Green Bay Packers, probably playing himself into maybe a starting quarterback job, but a pretty high pay raise. Those are the 2 that I'm looking at. It's tough. Nothing really stood out for me in the cheap defense last week, like Carolina or whatnot. So right now I'm sticking between those 2.
If you listen to us on Elite Sports Game Time, we're asking all of our analysts who is going to make the Super Bowl. We always do our predictions back in May, but now that we know all the info here leading into the final few days of the NFL regular season, at this point, Chris, who do you think is going to make the Super Bowl and win it?
AFC side, I think just New England is just too good of a team across the board. Vrabel just having that. Also, he has that history. He has the experience, coaching or playing into the Super Bowl. I think New England's just a tough team all around. I think offensively, defensively, they're playing at the right time. And then on the NFC side, surprisingly, San Francisco. I think San Francisco makes it to the Super Bowl. They're getting healthy and hot at the right time. I think Kittle will be back this week against Seattle. This defense is playing extremely well. I mean, they're going to be a tough play. They're going to be a tough team to beat. And Brock Purdy using his legs of the last couple of weeks. I think Purdy's playing at a high level at the right time. Don't be surprised if San Francisco is the tough team to knock out this year.
What a story that would be if they won it, because they've gotten so close a few times. And now this year, they're losing player after player throughout the first half of the season. Just about everyone, it seemed like, except for Christian McCaffrey. All the concern on Christian McCaffrey, he's been kind of the guy that's been standing strong here while everybody else has been getting hurt and some going to the IR. What a great story. And it shows the depth of this team that they've been that injured and especially getting crushed in the first half. And then now to be in a contending kind of form at this point, man, you don't see that a lot.
No, they've been fantastic. And a healthy Christian McCaffrey throughout the entire season, you can see that he's the number 1 overall running back in the league. So, Yeah, they're going to be a tough out. I like the poise. I like the way that Purdy's playing. It's just an interesting team, man. And if you go back to like mid-season, I think in the power rankings they were ranked like 19th or 18th or 19th. So they've really turned it on the second half of the year.
Chris, it's been awesome talking with you. One final question for those that may be just joining us here, maybe those that want to join us for the playoffs here. You see it right here, the all-in plan now down to $30, which if you sign up now, you get all the content that we have for week 18, but then throughout the playoffs too, DFS and betting, you can get involved. And for those that want to get involved, and we'll sign up, support at fantasyguru.com to sign up, or just go to fantasyguru.com. Chris, what is the differences in strategy when playing on FanDuel and DraftKings?
So essentially, they've kind of merged into like very similarities across the board as far as the bonus structure and really kind of how they aside of like the salaries, everything's relatively the same. But for me, I like attacking full PPR, and again, like my home leagues as well, it's a full PPR. There's not a ton of difference anymore aside of that, and I also think DraftKings is more for it's less novice. It's more for like the weekly player as far as the user friendliness. So if you've been playing daily fantasy for a long time, you'll probably lean to the DK side if you're newer to it. Little bit easier, user friendly for the newer like DFS player on FanDuel. Now you go to baseball, 100% FanDuel.
Oh, only FanDuel for baseball. What about basketball? What do you like better?
So basketball, I like DraftKings just because I feel like the pricing's a little bit easier on DraftKings than it is on FanDuel.
Dude, I am so lockstep with you. Even this year, I've been trying to force myself to play FanDuel. But, I was even mentioning tonight, too, like, when you've got a Valanciunas now who's going to get some big-time shoes to fill in for Jokic, the first couple of games before the prices skyrocket, we'll be able to take advantage. On DraftKings, though, it's an opportunity to go double center. That's why. And I've noticed myself when it comes to my cores on the DraftKings side, I'm trying lately to go double centers, to try to just, even if it's a guy that could get me like a 15-10 game, and DraftKings gives me the ability to do that. While FanDuel, the flexing positions, it's gotten more generous. It's still, when it comes to the big guys, it's very strict, I notice.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and that utility spot gives you a little bit more flexibility too.
No, 1,000% it does. Double center. Will I be going double center tonight? You'll have to find out a little bit later on. Chris, why don't you tell everybody what you have coming up the next few days at the site?
Yeah, so the quarterback article came out yesterday. Check it out on the site. We have the Mind of Marcel on Friday afternoon that'll come out just to go over the slate. And then, of course, Sunday afternoon, 12 p.m. Eastern, last-second updates and going over the entire slate one more time.
Chris Rose from fantasyguru.com. Again, give him a follow on X at Chris_R1212. Chris has joined me a few times. A great GPP mind. That's why he's part of the Elite Mafia and has a ton of position flexibility when it comes to the sports that he covers for fantasyguru.com. I'll have a little bit later on, I'll have the article up for DFS for tonight's slate. Again, I know it's confusing. There are day NBA games. I made sure I put a note in there in Discord last night. I'll have the article up a little bit later on. I'll have some bets too for the night slate. Watch Along Wednesday returns next Wednesday. I'll be in the Discord just covering all of these games with you. For Chris Rose, I'm Justin Fensterman. Ray Flowers will continue the week here at noon Eastern. Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by the good old FG, Fantasy Guru.